Hi guys, this little talk is on the Eatwell guide. The purpose of this is to give us all a base knowledge of food and different food groups. I should start really by showing you what the Eatwell guide looks like. Now bear with me because we are kind of low tech here working from home. So this is the Eatwell guide. Some of you may know this as the Eatwell plate, as it was called a few years ago. There's a few subtle changes to that which I may go through later on, and we'll probably return to this in time as we go through the talk, just to remind you of the sort of proportions we're looking at from each group. Now, the Eatwell guide is therefore basically a pie chart, and it shows you the recommended different amounts of food that you should, or let's say could, eat. And what I want to do is just take each of these sections in time and try to explain to you a little bit about why we need them, why they're important for our development, for our growth, and also maybe highlight a few little pitfalls along the way. So we're going to start with the green section up here, which is our fruit and veg. And this should constitute about 40% of our diet, so it's quite a significant chunk of stuff. And we're obviously looking for vegetables, celery, what we've got here, some spring onion, some nice broccoli, and fruit. So things like bananas, peaches, oranges. And we're always told to get our 5 a day. And really that message is to try and make sure that we're getting a good selection of vitamins and minerals. So that's the main reason why we need this food group. I just want you to be a little bit careful with the fruit intake, especially if you are diabetic, or if you're trying to lose weight, or if you're trying to maintain a healthy body weight. So there are many sources that will tell you that you can eat as much of this stuff as you want. And we need to be careful because as well as a good source of vitamin and minerals, these guys come with a lot of sugar, and also sugar that can get into the bloodstream quite quick, especially if these were to go in a smoothie, for example. And then all the fibrous tissue is broken down, and it means that sugar enters your bloodstream much quicker. If we get high sugar levels, our bodies won't cope with that very well, and we'll try to bring them down quite quick. But that energy has to go somewhere. And that somewhere is a conversion into fat and stored on the body. And the body always keeps its energy for a rainy day. It never just lets it go. So let's just be careful with the fruit intake. So max 2, maybe 3 a day. And if we can try and spread those out as well. So maybe mid-morning, mid-afternoon would be quite good. That's times when our blood sugar tends to drop a little bit, and your brain may start sending you signals to go for an unhealthy snack at that time. So by having maybe a piece of fruit in there, or some veg, maybe chopped carrots, chopped cucumbers, something like that, it will just get through that period where you're craving some sugar and get you to your next planned meal, so that we're not throwing in excess calories in between planned meals and planned snacks, which is fine. Now, other things we get from this type of food is fiber, especially things like the celery, other vegetables, good source of fiber. With the fruit, try to go with fruit that is ripe or just before ripe. So for example, this banana is starting to show signs that it's going over, and that's a signal that the sugars are starting to break down in there. So I need to eat that guy quite quick, and that will be much better for me. As I say, a good source of energy as well, but let's just be careful just how much fruit is actually going in there. Let's try to go for variety as well. So different colours will mean different vitamins and minerals, and try to broaden your horizons a little bit. So if you're someone that eats the same fruit and veg all the time, then start thinking, can I experiment a little bit and try some different varieties? And again, you'll be getting different vitamins and minerals into the mix then, which will help your body in terms of growth and repair. Now we're going to move on to our next section, which is our starchy carbohydrates. This is up here, the yellow section. As you can see, it's roughly the same. Again, about a third of your diet should be coming from this area, but 38% if we're going to be picky. And this is your body's preferred source of energy. So it's our go-to for energy. It's our first port of call. After that, the body will start to pull on fats and eventually, if required, proteins, but none of us will hopefully get to that point. Now then, let's try to go with wholemeal varieties if we can. So things like porridge, another cereal there, which is a pretty good one, shredded wheat. Now it doesn't have to be the original Nestle version as well, it's just what I've got here. Most of the big shops do their own varieties of these. With the porridge oats, I should say, guys, just get a big bag like that. Don't buy the little sachets. They'll cost much more. They tend to have more sugar pumped into them, especially those that have syrups added. And it's good for the environment, okay? Because you're buying all those little individual sachets which you're chucking away all the time. So just get a big bag, cheap as chips. Wholemeal bread, brown rice, wholemeal pasta, that sort of stuff. So why do we want wholemeal varieties? Well, by doing that, we up our fibre intake. And the human body's not very good at breaking down fibre, but it tries very hard to do so. So, it boosts our metabolism. It's good for gut health as well, because your intestines need something to work on as they actually pass food through your intestinal tract. The muscles around your intestine work a bit like a sausage machine. Have you ever seen that being done? Yeah. Increased fibre is good for getting cholesterol levels down, and because this stuff's going to hang around in our stomach a bit more, we're going to feel fuller for longer. So we're not going to want to snack, especially maybe mid-morning or mid-afternoon when we tend to get these drops in blood sugar levels. So let's try hard to go for starchy carbohydrates that have got the wholemeal varieties if we possibly can. And carbohydrates are not really your enemy. Quite often it's what goes on top. Now obviously we have to be aware of portion size, and there will be a talk on portion sizes coming up, but it's often what goes on top. So thinking about maybe the rice, things like curries, maybe chicken creamy sauces that go with pasta, and with the bread obviously there's different types of spread, maybe jams to go on there, and those sort of things make those foodstuffs much less healthy. So just be careful about what you're actually adding to your carbohydrates, because that can sometimes make quite a big difference. We're also getting vitamins from here, calcium and iron from this food group. And try to go with low fat varieties. For example, if you're going to have some chips, there's a lot of very good oven chip varieties out there that are very low in fat. There's some that are higher in fat, so just make sure you're trying to go for lower fat varieties if you can, and thinking about your cooking methods as well, so as little frying as we can make possible as well. We're going to move on to the pink section down the bottom here, and this is our meat, fish, eggs, pulses, beans, those sort of things. Now, this is where we're getting a lot of our protein, and this should make up about 12% of your diet. And we need protein for growth and repair of muscle tissue. Really important. So we're always renewing ourselves, and it's important that we have enough protein to actually enact that process. So we also get iron, selenium, zinc, and certain vitamins from this group, especially B vitamins, B12. And what we could try and do here is go for the whiter meats. So things like chicken and turkey, and try to reduce our intake of red meat. Red meat, the issue is that the fat is all the way through the meat. Now I know if you're into your cooking, then you can end up with a nice steak and you get that nice marbled effect of the fat through there, but it means it's impossible to take that out. Whereas chicken, you can pull the skin off, and it's a much leaner variety of protein. Fish is also very good for us, as long as it's not dipped in a deep fat fryer from the chippy. White fish, another good low fat source of protein, or some oily fish. So things like You see here. Little tin of mackerel, which my colleagues love me for because of the smell that wafts through the office when I have this. And I should just mention, going back to the starchy carbs, if you're somebody who's in a hurry, like myself, something like this might be a really good quick lunch for you. So these are little microwavable bags of wholemeal rice. Mix in some mackerel, Bob's your uncle. Your colleagues will love you for it. So the reason we want these guys, or any of the oily fish, pilchards, trout, sardines, is a good source of omega-3 fatty acids, and they're good for arterial health and reducing the risk of heart disease. We should be trying to get at least 2 portions of these little guys in every week if we possibly can. Be careful with meats that are wrapped up in pastry, so things like sausages, pasties, that sort of stuff. The fat content is going to be much higher, not very good for you at all. Products like sausage, salami, pate, beef burger, again, they're going to be a bit higher in fat and often quite higher in salt as well, which is not good for us long term. Now, we are going to move on to the little blue section down here at the bottom, which is our dairy products. So we're talking about milk, yogurt, cheese, good source of protein again, but really one of the main things we're looking for here is calcium intake to maintain strong bones and strong teeth as well. Now then, when it comes to milk, if we can, let's try to go for at least green top if we can. Did find this, we have this hidden away for cooking, but there is a significant difference between green top and blue top. Much higher fat content in the blue top, and in terms of your calcium levels, it's exactly the same in here. All that's skimmed off is the fat, and I know there's other tops. There's red top, so if you can cope with red top, even better. But if you can get down to at least green top, that would be great, because that makes a big difference from blue. Again, try to go for low fat varieties when it comes to yogurt, so maybe something like a low fat natural yogurt. Tesco are doing quite well out of this actually. I hope they give us some funding after this. Most yogurts, the little tiny tubs, especially those that have the fruit varieties, tend to be about medium in sugar levels, so they're not really bad, they're not really good. Something like this, fat levels 1.4 grams, so that would sit well in the low section of your traffic light report, for example. So good healthy choice. Try to reduce the amount of cheese that you have, especially the hard cheeses. Softer cheeses will be better for you, things like cottage cheese. I know they don't taste the same, but they're much better for you. The hard cheeses are very high in saturated fat. So if you really like your cheese, why not go for a stronger tasting cheese, grate that up and spread it out a little bit more, and then you're just reducing the fat intake. Now then, next little section, just want to mention, we're getting near the end, is a little tiny sliver here, which is for oils and spreads. You've got to be careful with these guys because they are very high in fat. So just very basically use them sparingly. So, stuff that we're going to put on our bread, just be careful. Don't have it plastered on, just try and scrape it across. If you're doing a stir fry or something like that, instead of adding extra oil to the wok or the pan, why not just sweat off some vegetables, some onions, something like that, to give you a fluid to cook in, and go with that, because you're just adding extra calories by adding extra oils. Let's make sure we get plenty of water in as well. So on here it says 6 to 8 glasses a day. What size is the glass? This size? This size? You can't really overdose on water, guys. So just make sure you have something handy your water's going to be going in all day on a regular basis. Keep well hydrated. We are quite a high percentage water, and we do need plenty of fluid every day. And finally, Within the Eatwell plate, the version before this, they used to have a section which you can see now down here, and this is all the nasties. So the foods that are high in fat, in sugar, alcohol, and that used to be part of the Eatwell plate. They've now taken it outside. Personally, I preferred it when it was in, because that had a sense of realism to it. So I know you're not going to be able to take those foods out completely. It's not possible unless you are unbelievably dedicated. And I'm not at that level, and I don't expect you to be at that level. So I know you're going to have those types of food. We don't need them as human beings. If they were outlawed tomorrow, we don't need them. I know that on a Friday night, there'll be a lot of people will think, I need that. And I might be one of them, but let's try to make sure that that's not becoming the norm, that those types of foods aren't going in a lot. So 5 good days, 2 days where you let your hair down a wee bit is what we're after. 2 days where you let your hair down, don't rip the backside out of it. But foods that are high in fat and salt and sugar, they're treat type foods, they're part of life's enjoyment, and I don't want you to take them all out. I just want you to get things in balance, really, and make sure that they're not the norm and they're not going in all the time, and they do become a treat. That's quite a long one, so I'm going to finish up now. Next talk in this sequence will be portion sizes, where we're going to have a look a bit more at these types of foods and what would constitute a portion. Thanks, guys.